Now let us prepare our hearts and minds for a time of meditation. I invite you to
I send my love over the mountains. I send my love over the sea. I send my love into the heavens, and it returns to me. I send my peace over the mountains. I send my peace over the sea. I send my peace into the heaven, and it returns to me. I send my joy over the mountains. I send my joy over the sea. I send my joy into the heavens, and it returns to me, and it returns to me.
Deep, deep, deep breath in now, and hold it for just a moment. Hold it and allow that energy to circulate, and then slowly, slowly exhale. Let all the air out and just begin to relax. Begin to allow the body to relax. Let's take another deep breath in and hold it again for a moment. Hold it as long as you're comfortable holding it. And then slowly let the air out of your lungs. And as you do, allow the belly to drop, and the shoulders to drop, and the jaw to drop. For this is your time to renew, to refresh, to reinvigorate, to claim your divinity, and to know your divinity. Breathing in and breathing out, focusing on the breath, allowing the body to continue to relax. The shoulders settle down and the hands are in a comfortable position for you. The legs and the feet are on the floor if you're comfortable with that, and you feel Mother Earth, the energy of Mother Earth flowing through your feet. The energy of Mother Earth, the relaxing energy of Mother Earth, the renewing energy of Mother Earth flows up my legs, around my hips, through my belly, up my spine, around the neck, up the head, down the arms, Mother Earth, Mother Earth, Mother Earth flows through me now. In the midst of knowing Mother Earth, my mind begins to settle down as the body relaxes. The thoughts begin to slow down this morning. All those transitions in the world, they slow down now. We settle down. Love comes to mind now. I open my heart. I open my mind to love. Love, the great harmonizer. I am that love. I am love. I am love. And I radiate that love. I radiate that love out into the planet, into humanity, into all sentient beings. I see happiness, not sadness. I see joy. I see kindness. I see equal, that all sentient beings are equal. In that equanimity, peace flows through me now. There's such equanimity. There's such peace when they come together. Equanimity brings peace. Peace flows through me now. Peace, be still. Peace. We claim peace. We want peace. We desire peace. We see peace. Peace, be still and know. Peace, be still and know. Breathing in and out now. Breathing in and out, we bring that peace with us to a time of silence, to a time of communicating with the universe, with God, with the One, with Source, with all that is and all there ever was, that I am a part of and is a part of me. In the silence, I bring peace. In the silence, I share my peace. In the silence now, I am peace. In the silence, in the silence. Breathing in and breathing out. Beginning my journey back to this time and place. Coming into my journey back to this time and place, I bring peace with me. I bring all the peace that there is with me. And as I slowly come back to this present moment, I realize that I can share that peace. How important it is for me to share the peace that I know, to allow it to radiate to others, to radiate out into this world, that I can bring that peace whenever I need to, whenever I feel the calling, to wherever it's needed, that the peace I bring makes a difference. Breathing in and out now and moving the fingers and moving the toes, licking the lips to moisten them, taking in another deep breath, and exhaling and slowly, slowly opening the eyes. We say, thank you, God. Thank you, God. And so it is. Amen.
Well, I am on a journey to my true self. Today my sacred journey starts. I'm on a journey to my true self. I'm on a journey to my heart. I am on a journey to find wholeness. Today my sacred journey starts. I'm on a journey to find wholeness. I am on a journey to my heart. I am more than what I can see. Digging deep, I find the truth in my soul. I find the divine, the same sacred spirit that's in you. I am on a journey to find heaven. Today my sacred journey starts. I am on a journey to find heaven. Well, I am on a journey to my heart. Well, I am more than what I can see. Digging deep, I find the truth that in my soul I find the divine, the same sacred spirit that's in you. I am on a journey to awaken. Today my sacred journey starts. I am on a journey to awaken. Well, I am on a journey to my heart. On a sacred journey to my heart. On this sacred journey to my heart.
David Trolley, the music ministry of David Trolley. I'm on a sacred journey to my heart. We are, aren't we? Let's stay there. Let's stay on that sacred journey to our heart. Because Bob mentioned the transitions that we're going through in this world. And I just want to take a moment before we get into my talk to say, I know that there is a lot going on out there. There's a lot to look at. There's a lot that you don't even want to look at. So don't look at it. Don't look at it. It's okay not to look at it. And it's okay to feel uncomfortable. It's okay to be confused. It's okay to be sad. I want you to know that I'm here. I'm available. If you want to call, if you want to send an email, if you want to Zoom together, if you want to pray together, just reach out. Reach out to each other. Reach out to me. Call your chaplain. Prayer helps right now. Prayer helps. And so this is a Sunday that I look forward to every year. It's that Sunday in November when our Board of Trustees president joins us. I always look forward to it. And I found that the board president usually doesn't look forward to it. And I'm sure that's likely the case with Board President Ohlendorf today. I know it has been in the last few years the case. And it's so appropriate to have our board president here with me for the topic today, for the 4 limitless qualities. Because I want to tell you this, if you want to spend some time with these 4 qualities, with the qualities of loving kindness, compassion, equanimity, and joy, spend some time with Harry Ohlendorf. Spend some time with Harry Ohlendorf. You'll experience each of them, for Harry is a person who exemplifies each of these qualities, which I'm certain brings him great joy. And Harry's going to talk with us about joy this morning as we move through the limited qualities. So, Harry, welcome. I'm so glad that you're here with us, and I'm looking forward to talk about joy, and it's so good to have you be here with us. And thank you for all that you do as our board president. Thank you. Well, you know, the limitless qualities are from the Buddhist tradition, and Pema Chodron writes a lot about them. And so we're here bringing the Buddhists into this. And I found a couple of Buddhist jokes that I thought I might share before we get started this morning. And so why don't Buddhists vacuum in the corners? Let me ask you that again. Why don't Buddhists vacuum in the corners? Because they have no attachments. Get it? They have no attachments. We shouldn't be attached to anything. Why did the Buddhist coroner get fired? Because he always recorded the cause of death as birth. What did the sign in the monastery searching for new monks say? Inquire within. And someone sent the Buddha a gift box tied with a ribbon. Buddha opened it to find it empty. Ah, he said, just what I wanted. Nothing. Yeah, to just want nothing. And last but not least, there were 4 monks who were meditating in a monastery. All of a sudden, the prayer flag on the roof started flapping. The younger monk came out of his meditation and said, "Flag is flapping." A more experienced monk said, "Wind is flapping." A third monk, who had been there for more than 20 years in the monastery, said, "Mind is flapping." And the fourth monk, who was the eldest monk, said, "Mouths are flapping." Amen. Well, I hope you enjoyed my Buddhist jokes this morning, and I'm having a good time with them, so I hope you are. And so I mentioned before that the chaplains and I continue reading the book Comfortable with Uncertainty, Pema Chodron, and we recently came across her writings on the 4 limitless qualities, the qualities of equanimity, loving kindness, compassion, and joy. The chaplains and I also talk frequently about our divinity and how our divinity has everything we need to move through this human experience. Well, that's what these 4 aspirational practices are. They're practices to bring us to a more comfortable place with our divinity, to open up to our divinity, to let it in, to let our divinity in, to not stop our divinity, but to let our divinity in and know that divinity, really feel that divinity and sit in that divinity and be in that divinity as we move through this human experience. These practices help us move into our divinity. And well, I said the word practice, right? These practices. So of course that means there's always a practice involved in Buddhism. So there is a practice involved here. And I have to tell you, it's not an easy practice. They're not easy practices. We resist these practices. In fact, it can be quite difficult for some. It can really be quite difficult for some. The practice of really sitting in the midst of that quality, sitting in the midst of equanimity, sitting in the midst of loving kindness, sitting in the midst of compassion, really sitting in the midst of joy, sitting in our own place in each quality, both the pleasant side of that quality and the unpleasant side, or what we've labeled unpleasant in our own mind. And when we do label it unpleasant, why, it creates suffering for us. So we need to sit in there and realize it. And so the practice that we're talking about with these 4 qualities is sitting in the midst of loving kindness, no matter where you are with it, pleasant or unpleasant. Sitting in the midst of equanimity, the hardest one, you'll see. Equanimity, it's where it all starts, equanimity. But sitting there and being in the midst of whatever you feel. You remember when we talked about loneliness, we talked about balance and being in the center. That's what I'm talking about here, is being in the middle, being in the center, being in just right there in the center, not wanting to be somewhere else in the quality, not wanting to be somewhere more or somewhere less, not wanting your compassion to be this way or your joy to be that way, but sitting in it right where it is right now and being with it. And then being willing to awaken the 4 qualities. Pema Chodron talks about awakening the 4 qualities. And she says that if we acknowledge the love, compassion, joy, and equanimity that we feel now, just the way we are, and nurture it through these practices, the expansion of those qualities will happen by itself. Now, that's such a great thing if you stop and think about it, that if we're willing to do that practice, to just sit and to allow these qualities to nurture, the expansion of them will happen by itself. The more we're willing to sit in our own loving kindness, the more loving kindness will be, and the more loving kindness we can bring to the world. So awakening the 4 qualities provides the necessary warmth for an unlimited strength to emerge. Chodron says that they have the power to loosen up useless habits and to melt the ice hardness of our fixations and defenses. We are not forcing ourselves to be good. That's not what we're doing here. We're sitting right where we are and accepting it and being okay with it and feeling what we feel into it, and allow ourselves to expand from that point on. How we see how cold, and we see how cold and aggressive we can be. We aren't asking ourselves to repent for this. Rather, these aspiration practices, children says, develop our ability to remain steadfast with our experience. Our ability to remain steadfast with our experience. To know whatever the experience is we're having in this human experience, that in our divinity, we have everything we need to move through it. And these 4 qualities and practicing them will help us know that even more so. Bring it forward into this human experience even more. And by doing that, in this way, we come to know the difference between a closed and an open mind, gradually developing the self-awareness and kindness we need to benefit others. To benefit others. These practices unblock our love, our compassion, our joy, and equanimity, tapping into their boundless potential to expand. So Pema does a lot of writings out there, and we've talked about many of her books, and I want to share some quotes from different books of hers on the 4 qualities. And she has a book called The Places That Scare You. Stop and think about that for a minute. The places that scare you. Well, that's not a place that we want to go most of the time, is it? But really, that's where we need to go, the places that scare us. That's where we need to sit and be. That's where we need to feel. Particularly powerful, children says, are the aspiration practices of the 4 limitless qualities. In these practices, we start close to home. We express the wish that we and our loved ones enjoy happiness and be free of suffering. Then we gradually extend that aspiration to a widening circle of relationships. She says, we just start where we are. Wherever we are, it's okay. We just have to be willing to start the practice. And we start right where we are today, no matter what we're feeling. And we feel the genuine aspirations, the genuine feelings. We let ourselves feel exactly where we are in the midst of these qualities. She goes on to say that we locate our current experience of these 4 boundless qualities, however limited they may be. We locate that experience within ourselves. Do we find it in our love of music, in our empathy with children, in the joy we feel on hearing good news, or in the equanimity we experience when we are with good friends? And so there's a Buddhist chant about this, and it goes like this, and you've heard it before. May all sentient beings enjoy happiness and the root of happiness. May they be free from suffering and the root of suffering. May they not be separated from the great happiness devoid of suffering. And may they dwell in the great equanimity, free from passion, aggression, and prejudice. So to be able to bring that, to be able to be in the midst of that chant, to be able to know that chant, to be able to bring it to others, Sjögren says that we have to have insight into our current experiences. We have to be willing to begin to cultivate these qualities in our current place, in our current experience. It gives us understanding, she says, of the state of our mind and our heart right now. Because without knowing the state of our mind and our heart right now, we can't really go forward. We can't be anything more. We can't really cultivate anything more from it. We have to really be comfortable right where we are, in the center, not wanting something more or less, something other, or something else, but in the center. We get to know the experience of love, compassion, joy, and equanimity, and we also get to know their opposites. By being willing to sit where we are right now, we get to know the quality and we get to know the opposite. We learn how it feels when one of the four qualities is stuck and how it feels when it is flowing freely. We never pretend that we feel anything we don't, because it's okay to feel what we're feeling. And if we sit in it, we grow in it and we become more by sitting in it, by not judging it, by not beating ourselves up, but by willing to sit there and feel it, by being willing to be involved in it, not run from it. The practice depends then on embracing our whole experience, by becoming intimate with how we close down and how we open up. Chodron says, by being willing to do that, we awaken our unlimited potential. So there was an article that appeared in Tricycle, a Buddhist magazine, and it was by Alan Klein in 2014. And it was how to deepen equanimity, love, compassion, and joy. And Alan says that Buddhism teaches us that there is no such thing as the self as we think we know it. There is no such thing as a self as we think we know it, a separate, bounded self, strictly cordoned off from what is other. When we are freed from the reactive patterns sprung from the boundaries we live by, good and bad, hate and love, we are not the self we were before. And when the boundaries dissolve themselves, self, as we understand it, disappears. So what does all that say? In unity terms, there is no separation. There is no separation. That we are all one. And our ego wants there to be separation. Our ego wants us to be forever. Our ego wants us to be immortal, to be this human being, this thing that we are now. It wants us to be that. And so we feel separation. And when we're willing to know that there is no separation, that just like going through the Zoom here, that I can feel you and know your oneness, we are one with each other. So Klein says this: the 4th century Buddhist philosopher Asanga speaks of 2 types of equanimity. And I want to talk a little bit about equanimity now, because equanimity is where it all starts. We aren't equanimitous. We aren't sitting in equality. We're not sitting in the midst of equanimity. Most of us, and some of us, don't even know that we're not practicing equanimity. We say, oh, I don't have any oh, I don't see color, oh, I don't do this. But in reality, we do. And so we have to start with equanimity by seeing all things as equal, that not one sentient being is more than or less than or greater than or anything other than equal to another sentient being. And that a meditator's own equanimity toward all beings and his or her wish that those beings develop equanimity. So He's saying that we sit in the midst of our own equanimity, and that by doing that, we'll help other people develop their own equanimity. I know I was going to have trouble saying this, sorry. Tsongkhapa, the revered founder of the Tibetan Gelug order, writing in the late 14th or 15th centuries, defined equanimity as freedom from powerful reactions, positive or negative, to another person or event. The ability to be even-minded toward everyone, no matter how they behave. I think I should read that one more time, don't you? It's a mouthful. Yeah, I see a lot of people nodding because think about it, it really says it all. He defined equanimity as freedom from powerful reactions, positive or negative, to another person or event, and the ability to be even-minded toward everyone, no matter how they behave. Now, don't we see that going on in the world right now? People aren't even-minded toward everyone. We see that going on between Gaza and Israel. We watch it, we feel it, that there's no even-mindedness with other sentient beings there. Not at all. There's no equanimity there. And if you remember our talk on Nehemiah last week, 2,500 years ago, there was no equanimity there. That lack of equanimity has been going on for years and years and years. And so how do we get to equanimity? He also says, and I think this is interesting, that equanimity is an antidote to pride. And that's where we see so much of the non-peace coming from, is pride. So equanimity can be an antidote to that. Equanimity opens us to the first Buddha wisdom, the wisdom of sameness. This primordial knowing recognizes that everything is suffused by the same true nature, empty, stainless, and unchanging. That we're all from one source, that we're all one with the one. Equanimity. Until we can find equanimity, it's really hard to move into loving kindness, to move into compassion, and to move into joy, because without that equanimity, we'll still judge who we can give loving kindness to. We'll still judge the compassion that we give, and we'll certainly judge our joy. So loving kindness. It's never too late or too early to practice loving kindness. It is said that we can't attain enlightenment, let alone feel contentment and joy, without seeing who we are and what we do, without seeing our patterns and our habits. This is called Maitri, developing loving kindness and an unconditional friendships with ourselves. Aha, with ourselves. Pema tells us this. It's a quote from When Things Fall Apart, hard advice for those difficult times. That can you imagine developing an unconditional friendship with yourself? I'll tell you, it's a great place to start. How do we do this? Well, one of my practices, and it's a tough one, and I've talked with some of you about it, is looking in a mirror. Just going up to the mirror with open eyes and look in the mirror and look in your eyes and say, I love you. Richard Carlini, I love you exactly as you are right now. Everything that you bring, everything that you come with, I love you. See, I'm looking at myself in the Zoom space right now, and I'm saying it to myself. And I know it's hard. It's hard to say that I love you for everything that you bring. Oh my God, everything that I bring. Oh, but see, oh, geez, now I'm really thinking about that. But yes, because then we must develop an acceptance of ourselves and come to love ourselves exactly as we are at that moment in order to begin loving kindness toward all sentient beings. We have to love ourselves first. We've sang this song before. Some of you that have been in Unity for some time will remember it. I'm not going to sing it, but the words are, I love myself so much that I can love you so much, that you can love you so much, that you can start loving me. And when we start knowing equanimity, Harry, get ready. When we start knowing equanimity and we start knowing loving ourselves, then we can begin to find joy. Can't we, Harry?
Yes, yes, we can. And when Reverend Rich asked me to talk about joy in today's service, my mind started wandering along like with questions like, what is joy and what can I say about joy? And a lot of other thoughts. Is it the feeling that comes up when we get good news or something other happens in our life, some life event, or in this time of year, is it like the Christmas carol, Joy to the World? Well, with those thoughts rumbling around in my mind, I decided to let them have at it. And I picked up a book that had been sitting on the coffee table for about a month. A friend gave me this book last month, and I'll see if you can see it. It's called The Second Mountain by David Brooks, who is a New York Times columnist and commentator that you may see on Friday evenings on PBS NewsHour. But I started reading through there, and what he describes as the first mountain, which is a common experience that many people have of finishing university or whatever schooling they are going to get, and they take on their first career, their first mountain, with the goal of being whatever their goal is, whether it's to be the policeman or a doctor or whatever. But the drive in reaching the top of that first mountain is often the ego and thinking of oneself, moving ahead, being a success. And some people who reach the top of that mountain find it unsatisfying, or something happens in their life that knocks them off the top of that mountain, and they find themselves down in the valley where they are needing to rethink their life. And so they take on a different perspective that's more focused on teamwork and other people and mentoring instead of personal success on their own. And that leads to much more satisfaction than they experienced at the top of that first mountain that was so ego-centered. So when I read the introduction of the book, I thought, oh, this is it. This is what I can say about joy because of the words that he uses in talking about this experience. So I want to read part of the introduction because I can't say it better than Brooks has said. So if you bear with me, I would want to read this. Every once in a while, I meet a person who radiates joy, which is the reason I thought, oh, okay, maybe he's saying something for today's service. These are people who seem to glow with an inner light. They're kind, tranquil, delighted by small pleasures, and grateful for the large ones. These people are not perfect. They get exhausted and stressed. And they make errors in judgment, but they live for others and not for themselves. They've made unshakable commitments to family, a cause, a community, or a faith. They know why they were put on this earth and derive a deep satisfaction from knowing what they have been called to do. Life isn't easy for these people. They've taken on the burdens of others, but they have a serenity about them, a settled resolve. They're interested in you, make you feel cherished and known, and take delight in your good. When you meet these people, you realize that joy is not just a feeling, it can be an outlook. There are temporary highs we all get after we win some victory. And then there's also this other kind of permanent joy that animates people who are not obsessed with themselves, but have given themselves away. So I couldn't find any better way to say what I feel as joy. Linking back to the statement about making a commitment to one's community or faith, as you know from the announcements, Unity Center of Davis has a pledge drive underway. Unity Center is prosperous, but we are using up some of our cash reserves to support the programs and activities that we have. I'm happy to make a commitment to Unity Center by making a pledge again for 2024. I find that to give me joy, and I'm hoping you'll share with me and join with a contribution that I think you'll find satisfying, and we would certainly appreciate it. So, Reverend Rich, back to you.
Thank you, Harry. Thank you. I love what you read. Isn't he great, everybody? One more time for Harry. Thank you, Harry. Thank you. Jeez. Harry, I have to tell you, you're right about the joy of giving. I got my pledge letter in the mail over the weekend too. And I was the one that put the wrong return address on everybody, just so that you know. I was the one that made the labels and I printed them all wrong. So I'm sorry about that. But I went and did my pledge this morning, and I used the electronic pledge card. So I went into the website and clicked on Pledge 2024, and the form came up, and I made my pledge, and I felt joy. I was just, when you give, you feel, it just feels good. You feel joy, and I allow yourself to sit in that joy, and to know that joy, to feel that joy, so that you really know what joy is, that you can know the joy of giving, where it comes back tenfold. And then our last quality, and I'm going to be brief on it, is compassion. And Pema says this about compassion in Practicing Peace in Times of War, which is a wonderful book to read right now, Practicing Peace in Times of War. She says that one of the meanings of compassion is suffering with, being willing to suffer with other people. This means that to the degree you can work with the wholeness of your being, your prejudices, your feelings of failure, your self-pity, your depression, your rage, your addictions, the more you will connect with other people out of that wholeness. And it will be a relationship between equals. You'll be able to feel the pain of other people as your own pain. So until you can sit in the midst of your own pain and allow yourself to feel that pain and feel compassion for yourself, it's really very difficult to bring true compassion to others. And I want to share my example of this with you, and then I'll be done, and I won't talk so long the next time, I promise. But you remember, and I've shared this story briefly before, but it's so truth about really allowing yourself to sit in the midst of compassion. And it was during the pandemic when the George Floyd murder took place, and we witnessed that on TV. And I was doing my podcast at the time with Billy Engelhardt on the healing power of grief. And because that had taken place that week, we wanted to talk about the grief of white privilege, because I think a lot of us were going to classes and really getting to know what white privilege really was. And so we wanted to talk about that. So we were going to bring on 3 people to talk about it. One was Reverend Kevin Ross from Sacramento. You know Reverend Sandra Campbell. She's been here to speak. And then Reverend Diana McDaniel from Unity of San Leandro. Wonderful woman, been at that church for years. Has been a minister longer than me. And I was driving home, and Diana called me, returned my call about coming on to the podcast. And I told her what it is we wanted to talk about. And for some reason, Diana began to share with me what it was like to experience white privilege. And I was willing to listen for the first time. I was willing to be there and hear her. And what she said, I understood, I felt it, and I knew compassion. I could have compassion for what she was experiencing because I allowed myself to feel it and to be there with her and experience that compassion. And now, about my own white privilege, I'll never be the same. I'll never be the same. I'll know it. I know it like I've never known it before. And I'm so appreciative of that. To understand it and to, as little as it must be, have felt what she must feel. What so many people must feel. What the Palestinians must feel. What the Israelis must feel. What the Ukrainians must feel. So, compassion, loving kindness, joy, and equanimity. I invite you to bring them into this human experience. Get to know them. Practice them. The practice is hard. Give it a try. Thanks for letting me go over a little bit. Thank you so much, Harry. It's such a joy to have you be our board president. Thanks, everybody. Have a great week.